Blog Talk Radio.
Broadcasting live
From an undisclosed location in the universe with Iggy Garcia
and Adriana Arts. Join us as we explore the holistic, metaphysical,
and the spiritual realms every Monday night
at
7 p.m.
on WithinSightsRadio.com.
Welcome to WithinSightsRadio.com. I'm Iggy Garcia.
And I'm Adriana. Hi.
We are your hosts tonight, and hopefully you can be with us here for the next 90 minutes or so. Maybe less, who knows? Depends on how good this show goes. It might crap out right in the first 5 minutes. I don't know. But anyhow. I want to welcome everybody to the show. We're broadcasting in undisclosed locations in the universe. We have our own locales where we broadcast from. This show is actually streaming on the web on Facebook Live. So for those of you who are on Facebook Live, you can watch the show from here. You won't see Mrs. Adriana because she will be completely voice only. So if you can hear her, she's in the background laughing and giggling from time to time. Our call-in number tonight is 646-595-3440. That is so you can talk to us, because our topic is going to be pretty interesting tonight. I'm pretty excited about our topic, and the topic tonight is pretty close to home for a lot of people who probably listen to this show. Our show tonight is what the heck is enlightenment? So what do you think, Adriana?
Oh, great. You're going to toss me the big ball right off the bat. Thanks, Iggy. What the heck is enlightenment?
Yeah, what is enlightenment?
You know, that's a good question. I think a lot of people have different views on that. For me personally, oh man, that actually can encompass a few things, but I guess for the most part, for me, enlightenment is when your eyes and your mind are both open to the reality of what's really going on in the world and around you, whether it's with events in the world, what you're being told or shown on the news, on the radio, what you actually see with your eyes, isn't always what's actually there. So it's for me, it's opening up and touching on that extra sense that everyone has. Everybody has a sixth sense about them. Not everyone is tuned into that sixth sense. We are taught from the time we're small, there are five senses only. And that's what you use to function in this world and to interpret things that you see or smell or feel. But there's a sixth sense that we all have, and that is our intuition. So enlightenment for me is getting in touch with that intuition, and once you do get in touch with it, you are exposed to some realities that, even though you might not be able to see them, are there. And you can't deny it, so you experience things differently. Does that answer your question? What the heck did I just say?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, The reason I proposed this question is, let's see, back in May 8th, so that would probably be almost a week or so, I proposed this question. What does it truly mean to be awakened or become enlightened? I wanted to see what our community and what the people who are on my Facebook page thought about what enlightenment meant. It's a loaded gun. It's a loaded question. There's a lot. You can answer that any way you can. First off, before I continue, I want to say hi to everybody who's listening to the show tonight, who's watching. Sue, Anita, everybody I can see screening and scrolling through my screen. Thanks for being here. So I got a whole myriad of, versions of the truth. And I guess that's the way I look at it. For example, we had this one person, Sunny Sa. She said, I think it's the ability to feel the connection to the universe and all it holds, and to be able to hold that feeling. So that's, of course, all these answers are going to be very unique to as the person who's, answering the question that I proposed. And my favorite one was, Iggy, if you have to ask that question, then you're not enlightened yet. I thought that was so funny, because my whole point was, it's not about, that's not what I was asking. I wasn't asking if Iggy was enlightened. I wanted to know what you thought enlightenment meant, what it means to be awake for you. Because I'm curious, because I know that for everybody, their center is unique to themselves. It's their own peace of mind, their own nirvana, their own heaven, their own hell, whatever they call it, whatever it's going to be. So my enlightenment and my awakening is going to be completely different than yours, Adriana. It's going to be completely different than anybody who, responds on this post.
Right.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to agree. It's going to be different and a different interpretation from everyone, because not any two people are identical or the same.
This is correct.
So it goes back to the old thing you always bring up at times. If two people were to see an accident and were to be questioned afterwards, what did you see? They're both going to have two completely different stories. Neither one of them interpreted or saw the same exact thing. It's not how our minds work.
Right.
So what is it to you?
Well, I'm going to say one more, because I thought this was pretty interesting. Philip Sierra says, is. It just is. That's all he put down is. For me, personally, it could change. It can change from day to day, week to week, month to month. But what it stays core is knowing that I don't have to always be enlightened. I have moments where I am enlightened, where I have these aha moments, where I have these moments of these epiphanies, and I have these magical places, because I'm also a human being, and I'm also going through, the struggles of being human. So I also fall into the aspects of the shadow versions of myself, and aspects of things, how I perceive the world and how I perceive myself and how I look at things. Not everything is perceived the same way, Everybody who's listening to the show, or anybody who's going to listen to it later, or even if I go back and listen to it, my hearing, my depiction of what I heard may change. Enlightenment, I don't believe, is anything really. I think it happens. It happens. I think we have these moments where we just are just in these magical places that we are taken. And to actually be in this one space where we're just constantly doing, working the energy a certain way. I don't think that's realistic for some people. I think it's hard that we have to stay in that energy constantly. I think it's okay to be just who we are, versus have to be this obtainable, this guru, this magical place. I know there are people who work with teachers and who have gurus, and that's okay, because we need teachers from time to time to teach us, and I get that. But what I fear and what I hear about awakening and enlightenment and all those things is, what bothers me is that in order to obtain, you have to learn from this particular person, and for some people they resonate with that. I personally don't resonate with that. I don't believe that we always have to have somebody who is living, a living God on land, a living person in this planet, on this earth. But again, that's me projecting. That's me projecting my belief. So for somebody else, that could be a valid point. So that's why enlightenment is a personal relationship with yourself, a personal relationship with Creator, or a personal relationship with nothing. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, you have a good point there. For me, I guess if I have passed through the stage of enlightenment, it really didn't happen for me until probably within the last 7 years. And it's really just, for me, it was actually kind of brutal. I have to say, all the beliefs that I was raised around or with all of my life, and a lot of it went to my spiritual, the spiritual aspect in my life, from childhood up. All of that, it was like all of that came crumbling down for me, and that was really hard. It's hard to hold on to the roots of my spiritual belief, my faith. That's where my faith was, and for me, in my faith was a lot of power. There is a lot of power in my faith, and it was like it came crumbling down, like a big tower that came crumbling down, and that was painful for me to try to break down everything that I'd been taught, everything I'd been raised around, and everything I held dear to my core.
Right.
And strip it. It was like stripping it completely away and trying to open my mind to, and then my mind asked so many questions.
Right.
Questions that about everything, everything in my life, everything around me, every person around me. My mind started asking all these questions. So that wasn't easy. That was not easy for me. It wasn't easy for me to ask myself those questions. I wasn't asking anybody else. I wasn't asking a guru. Trust me. I was asking myself, hey, take a look at this. Ask a question about this. What do you think about this? You know, my mind was like coming at me from all different directions. And it was pretty hard. But in the end, I still, I think I'm lucky that I held on to my core belief, which is where my faith resides. And what my faith resides in is my willpower. My willpower. If I believe I can heal, and I pray that I can heal, or I have this belief that I have the power through my faith to heal, I believe it's done. I don't doubt myself. And I'm lucky I held on to that part of me. But everything else, I'm telling you, it was brutal. I cried. I was angry. I just, everything had a question. And to every question, there were at least 10 answers. It wasn't easy, you know. The struggle was real for me, and it's been a while. I mean, it's been a couple of years that I've really. It took me a couple of years to live with it, I guess. You know, to be able to sleep and just try to put my mind at rest at times, not to constantly focus. I have that mind that will constantly focus and want answers immediately now to everything.
Right.
And that's almost impossible, I think, when your mind gets opened up to what's really going on around you, or that everything that you're shown on the news or on TV is fake or a lie, and what's going on behind this. And sometimes you just have to listen to your intuition, and you have feelings about what's really going on halfway across the world. I mean, you know, it's discernment, I think, is a very important tool. When you do go looking into, I guess, your enlightenment of your inner self.
Yeah.
So I don't know, for me, it was brutal.
Well, that's a common theme, though. That's a common theme for people to have when they're going. I want to say this right. I don't want to say this wrong. There are people who work diligently to obtain enlightenment and to be awakened, and there are people who just kind of walk right into it and then fall out of it and walk right back into it and fall out of it. That's kind of like me. And I'm okay with that. In this moment in time, I don't want to be so far into one direction and in one direction and feel that, you know, I have to keep these errors of sorts. I know that's not that way, but But in order to walk in that light, in order to discover myself, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of energy, and it's positive energy. It's loving energy, and I get that. But and like here, I'm reading some of these questions off from people who have written. Nicole Comeric says, an unwaverable desire to discover the truth of reality. And so these are this is how people are responding. And here's another one. Here's Davy, and she said, very thought-provoking question. Thank you. As always, it's thought-provoking. It's something that opens up your mind, and you're gonna go, this is interesting. I really have to think about this, because we've been taught so many schools of mysticism has taught us so much that maybe one way is the way and one way is that way. But there are many roads to get. Like my friend Tony today, when I met with him today, he goes, Iggy, there's 1,000 ways to get to Colorado, and I said, yeah, that's true, and I agree with you. He goes, you can take the bus, the train, you can walk, you can fly, you can, you can crawl if you wanted. It's really up to you how you want to be creative. So, and when you get there, when you're there, like for example, you get to Colorado, the enlightened place per se, then you have work to do. Then when you're in your enlightenment, you still have work to do. It's not like it's just done and it's over with. You have to find,
Right.
And once you're there. But enlightenment comes in so many packages and so many presents and so many versions of the truth and versions of the story, because there are stories, there are truths. Those are the things that, which takes us into that place where we need to be in order to feel good about who we are, what we feel. And for some people, they have issues of unworthiness. Some people don't feel that they're worthy of being enlightened, because that means that you have to be so good. They get confused by the message, what it means to be enlightened. Enlightened doesn't mean you have to be good. Enlightened means you're awakened to your possibilities of who you are and how you see the world and how you flow with it and how you treat other people and how you treat the things around you, how you observe the tree next to you, how you observe the rug underneath you. Enlightenment is just unique. It's a unique form of expression.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are events, that happen to you in your life, like you're saying, that it changes you forever. And for me, some of those events can be traumatic events, but they changed your outlook and they opened your eyes
True.
to what was really around you. That's a form of enlightenment. It isn't always good. And that's, for me, that's just a given, One, a very tragic thing that happened to me in my past opened my eyes to what a beautiful world we have, and to be grateful for being able to see the miracles of the sky and the sunset, the sunrise, and the clouds, and the earth, the beauty in the earth. But before this tragic thing happened to me, I paid no attention. I took all that for granted. So for me, that was one of the very first things that ever happened that kind of enlightened me to the world around me. And there's good and bad everywhere. But some of these things open your mind to look at things in another aspect, another view. And for me, I've always, after this happened, I've always tried to, when there's something negative in my life, try to turn it and make it into a positive. That's, for me, that's a part of my enlightenment. You take something negative and I refuse to be the victim of things. I've never settled for being a victim. I'm not that woman. I'm not that being at all. Does not resonate with me to be a victim. And I try to take anything negative in my life and somehow make something positive out of it. Sure. Even if it's a bad time that I'm going through. I try to do a positive thing like painting or art, something creative, cross-stitch, create something, a dance,
right?
A costume, anything. But that's how you wake up your mind to where you can change the circumstances in your life because you are awake, and you don't have to stay in a negative place. You can turn that and make it a positive place.
Sure, absolutely.
You know,
I agree.
I would have never done that had my mind not been open somehow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something made me view the world and my life differently, whether it was good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. The point was, it made me look at things differently and appreciate things more and see things more differently and deeply and feel things more deeply.
So basically what you're saying is you're going deep inside of your core, deep inside yourself, and going into that place where only you know how to get there, and only you know what's down there, and how you're going to wake up, how you're going to navigate through that. You know, I'm just echoing back.
It's in there, yeah.
It's deep down.
I mean, it's deep down, yes, but sometimes there's events around you that sometimes that part of you kind of takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of like your mind controls your breathing when you sleep, and every day. I mean, your mind just controls that breath.
Boom.
Your subconscious.
Enlightenment.
So there's a place deep down in there that can react to situations,
sure,
or bring on that aha moment in your mind,
mm-hmm,
where you kind of see things all of a sudden completely different than you ever did before. That comes from deep down, I think, yeah.
And here's a couple more. And those of you who've commented, put online here. Tara Lynn, she goes, being able to see through the bullshit. I thought that was kind of funny. I think she's talking about herself.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to see through the stuff. And another one, Heidi House, she says, being unconditional love. So, and Davey says it's a constant work in progress sometimes. And I agree with all these things. And, and all these answers, that all these versions that people are writing, Nina Holmes says that God lives inside of you and feels his presence. This is everybody's connection, So for me to say that
mm-hmm.
one connection is better than the other or is a certain way may not be true for somebody else.
Yeah, or right or wrong.
Yeah, because,
yeah.
Enlightenment
there is no right or wrong.
No, I mean, to be awake is just to be aware, right? Kind of like you said, you're awake, your body's breathing when you're sleeping, so it's awake. That's an enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
You're already enlightened because
mm-hmm.
your body's going, hey, I want to keep you alive. So you already have that magical gift inside of you to be able to process
mm-hmm.
without even being in the process yourself. You're being like a ride along the way. But I find it when I read all these different, how people see the world and how they see it and how they feel it. I found it really fascinating. So I really wanted to do a show on this. Aaron says,
mm-hmm.
to be in spirit, to be inspired, in alignment within our higher self. If I was to read that particular, just not to criticize her post, but just if I was to read that to somebody who wasn't in the place to understand what that meant, they wouldn't understand. I've talked to people and I've been around people and I talk about higher self. Number one, some people don't understand what that means. Number two, some people have a different version of higher self. Number three, people look at you, what are you talking about? I've had all that. I've had all those things. And then my favorite one right here, Sarah Rainbow Nashville, she goes, I don't know anymore. And that's a legit answer. That's a legitimate answer. I love those answers. You know why? Because it's truth. It's her truth. She believes that. Part of her, a piece of her believes that. A piece of her is going in questioning.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean she's not enlightened.
Yeah.
She's enlightened to the fact that she can even ask that question. That's enlightenment. That's what I think. For me, enlightenment is to be able to answer those, to grab that question and ask it, and not be judged or parented for having the wrong answer. And when I read all these Adriana, when I read all these things here, when I'm reading all these people's versions of their truth, it's their truth. The only thing that maybe pushes me off a little bit is when people try to push their doctrine of their belief upon somebody that it's that way, then it is this way. It's this way. You know, it's God. You know, someone sacrificed themselves for you. You know, because you got to remember. You got to go back to what I asked. You know, you got to remember what the question was when I asked this question. What does it truly mean to be awakened or become enlightened? I was asking personally to each individual person who commented on this, and I got a lot of comments. I got a lot of comments from it, and you know, and they were beautiful, beautiful comments. They're beautiful how they wrote, you know, and just and that's what you want. This is how you learn. This is how you know, move through your life. You know, Chris Emmett writes, wow, this resonates with me. But then you go, what resonates? What resonates with you? But whatever she feels and she has read resonates with her. She gets it in her thinking, her processing, or whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a good thought, you know, provoking question there. So
Sure.
to get your mind wondering. And I agree with you. There is no right or there is no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I wouldn't necessarily agree that you're always in a state of love when you're enlightened. I don't know that would ring true with me.
Explain.
Sometimes, like I said, I'm not in a state of love. when my eyes have been open to some things, you know, around me, it might even be a state of fear.
Sure.
You know, but you can be enlightened when you're in a state of anger. You can be enlightened as to what you're actually capable of, what your true thought process is.
So it's an awareness.
That can be very enlightening.
So you're expanding, you're becoming aware of things. You know, you take the blinders have fallen off.
And you can, yeah. When the blinders fall off, there's no going back. I can say that from my personal experience. No matter how much you want to put them puppies back on, they just don't fit anymore.
Right. I can see that. I understand that point. For you listeners out there, if you want to actually get into this conversation with us and you want to talk with us, call 646-595-3440. I'd like to hear your versions. Type it out. I want to read it. I'll read it back, you know, so other people can hear what you have to say. We're not here to judge. We're not here to, you know, parent or project upon you what we believe. I'm only giving you a version of how I see and how I feel and how I navigate. You know, I'm not here to, you know, to say, hey, you're wrong, whatever. You know, I'm not gonna be like one guy who posted that says, if you have to ask, you have not arrived. You know, to arrive, you have to ask. You know, to arrive, you have to ask. That's how you learn. So I don't necessarily disagree with him. I just took his words and flipped them around, you know, because in order for me to become to the place that I want to be, I need to ask some questions. I need to ask for some directions. I can't get there by myself. And, you know, so basically the answer in the question, they're all in there together, you know. And so that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I could wake up tomorrow and go, you know what? I don't think I know anything. What the hell have I learned? What the hell made me think I was enlightened? And that's a fact. I can literally think that or feel that tomorrow.
Sure. What, you know, maybe the
day after.
You're right. Maybe what enlightened you.
I'm with you.
What enlightened you yesterday doesn't enlighten you today.
Well, and I'm with you. You don't, just because you are able to reach that point, you're not going to stay there 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's possible on this 3D world, this realm that we live in. I don't think it's possible to stay enlightened all of the time. That's my personal opinion, you know, but it definitely would change from day to day for me.
Well, let me ask.
Sometimes where... Go ahead.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like there's a difference between being awakened and enlightened? You think the two are both in the same or different, or there's some crossover?
I think it starts with an awakening, and then you eventually become enlightened. I think it's a process.
Okay.
I think you start with awakening, and it leads to enlightenment.
Okay. That makes sense to me. All right. Hold that thought. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a little commercial break. We're going to continue this conversation. I want to say hi to Anita. I want to say hi to Connie. Everybody who's listening. You're on With Insights Radio, Iggy Garcia Live with Adriana Arts. We are here talking about what the heck is enlightenment. So we'll be right back.
You are listening to WithinsightsRadio.com, your free online resource for achieving self-discovery and inspiration. With Insights Radio is a listener-supported radio station, and your donations are greatly appreciated. We cover a variety of topics, interviews surrounding the metaphysical and holistic and natural medicine, alternative healing modalities, and much more. Thank you for tuning in to WithinsightsRadio.com. You are listening to WithinsightsRadio.com on the Blog Talk Radio Network, your free online holistic publication resource radio for trusting your intuition, achieving self-discovery, and following your soul self.
All right, welcome back to WithinsightsRadio.com. I'm Iggy Garcia with Adriana Arts. We are broadcasting live in our own little locations in the universe. And today we're talking a little bit about awakening and enlightenment, but I want to kind of talk about a little bit what we did yesterday, what happened yesterday, where we had our enlightened moments and we had our moments of awakening and epiphanies and ahas and healing and letting go. And also want to talk about I want to talk about also the aspects of things that occurred during this event, because I found it very fascinating as you're working through the aspects of yourself and the aspects of healing, the aspects of awakening, how you can be challenged and how you will respond and how you will react. We had a gathering at the Ash Cave, what we do every year. We do one in the spring and one in the fall, so it's a gathering. It's a sacred gathering. It's a drum circle. It's a healing circle. It's everything. It's not just a drum circle. So anytime that you see my name attached to anything, Iggy Garcia, it's not going to just be that. There is an aspect of healing that occurs when we're doing our work. We're metaphysical healers. We're medicine men and women, and that's the work we do. So don't ever be shocked and surprised if you see us, start to doing, burning sage or running energy or whatever, because that's what we do. That's what we do in the work we do. We are medicine people. That's our lives. So don't ever be shocked if I put a drum circle and that happens and you see me powwowing and you see me putting people on the ground, asking people to lay down, and I'm doing the drum healing. That's going to occur and that's going to happen. Embrace it. Try to understand it. It's okay to judge it, but don't put it down because you don't understand it. So we had a good time.
Right.
We had a good time, didn't we? Everybody hanging out and getting together.
Oh, we had a wonderful time.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. A lot of healing. A lot of people that really wanted and were excited to be able to lay down for the healing part of our drumming. A lot of people, I think, specifically came and waited for that moment.
They
so
did.
They could come up there.
They did. I think you're correct. You're correct on that. So paint us a picture. Paint us a picture of what happens. Paint us a picture of a powerful day there.
Oh, wow. Just the... I had a lot of, afterwards, a lot of people that laid down. And I actually, I had a conversation with my mom before we got there. She's been having some health issues, and I told her that I was going to our gathering down at the cave. She's well aware of these gatherings that we have down there and how special that they are, how powerful. And she specifically asked me if I would get all of my friends, meaning all of you guys that we're always doing this type of work with, but my friends in particular, you and Mary and David, and a few others, that if I would have you guys pray for her, for her healing, because she really is at her wit's end with some of the pain and health issues that she had been having. And every gathering that we have, especially the ones at Ash Cave, I always have it's a wall hanging, actually, that my mother quilted. But my mom made this with her hand. She quilted with her hand. It's not machine quilted, it's hand quilted. And it's very special, and it's went to every gathering with me. It is always the centerpiece that I usually set my special instruments, or if I bring my stones, or if I have a bundle for any type of ceremony, I will use this to set my precious items on. But it's always with me gatherings. And so I promised her when I got there, I said, I know we're going to do a healing part of the ceremony when we're there. We'll do a healing ceremony, and I absolutely will literally stand in for you. And so when I went up for the healing, I took my mom's quilt and I placed it over top of me, because I was covered in her energy and her love. That's what that symbolized for me. And that was powerful, that I felt her pains. And I felt her tears.
Yeah.
And her daily struggle with pain and being tired of being in pain. And that's why I was down there for so long. But I also felt it healing. I felt it moving. And I felt everyone. I truly want to thank everybody that participated in those healing ceremonies with us, Cindy and Dwight, Mary, David, Chris, Laura, everybody, Deborah, Rob. I mean, just everybody was wonderful, and that energy was just amazing. And everybody brings their own special healing gift when we do this, and you feel a number of things. My mind was, all I could see was my mom. I could feel her. I could see her. I felt her pain. I felt her struggle. But I also started moving that energy through my body and putting it back out to the earth, up to the sky for blessing, out to the earth to release it from. And it was like I felt like a conduit for her.
Right.
It was truly amazing for me. This was really different for me, and it was just amazing. And I talked to her today, and she sounded better today. I didn't get to talk to her for a very long time because she was busy and she was expecting some phone calls, but she did sound better today.
Good. And
she wasn't in tears. So
that's awesome.
But sometimes you just have to. I can't quite describe what it's truly like, and it's something that you kind of have to experience, I think, yourself. Almost, everybody's going to feel different. They're going to interpret that or feel differently. I know anybody that laid down there and had any healing work done, though, came up out of there feeling wonderful.
Well,
Truly. I mean,
it was a blessing and it was an honor to actually drum for you. I actually got to drum the big drum as you were laying there, and I could feel the energy moving, and I could actually almost, feel your tears, coming through myself, and I could feel that the shifting that was going on. It was really powerful, and the same for you. You actually held space for me. You drummed for me. You're actually the first person who actually did a drum healing on me. I've had people where I've just sat by the drum to ground, but to actually sit there and receive the healing, actual healing, you're the first. You actually the only one that's actually done that. Where I've actually received the messages that I read. So that's a big honor, and that's I'm very thankful for that, and it's a blessing for me that you were the one who got to do that for me personally, because with the loss of my mom earlier this year I've been in a really tough place, and I've been really trying to navigate and work for it, and I know I've been having my little pity parties and just going through what I have to, and I know that I make it about myself sometimes, and I don't mean to. It's just I guess didn't know how to release, and so it was good to have someone drum, and then everybody comes around you and just totally just sends their love vibrations into you, and having that moment of enlightenment right there. I got to see my mom. I got to see my mom.
yeah.
I got to actually her talk to me. She was right there, and she was in white. She was young, like she was on my first Facebook page post that I had on earlier, and she was just telling me to let her go and just let her be, and to live my life, and to because life is short. She was just reminding me how precious life is, and for me to waste it away it would be a total I don't know, she didn't say a bad thing. It was just, but I got to experience my mom and see her, and I could feel the vibrations of everybody's energy flowing through me as they played their horns, their drums, they sage. You played the big drum, and I was just moved, and I was gone. I was totally gone. I was just totally talking to my mom, and then towards the end, she just turned around and she walked away, and I had this whole sense of, and I didn't talk about that right away because I just needed to process that, and I was working through that, and it took me a while to go through it. And when I finally laid down, I was so tired, just exhausted from the day. It all came crashing back to me, what I had experienced, and to know that she's okay. That was important. I guess that was important to me, because I remember when I was a kid, I asked her, "Is there heaven and hell?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I would ask her, "So, Mom, what happens when you die, Mom?" I asked her as a kid, and she would say, "Well, you just go to sleep, and then you just wake up." I said, "Do we because we?" She says, "So when God comes back and wakes us all up, what happens?" She goes, "It'll be so peaceful." She said, "You'll fall asleep, just like you do every day, and then one day you'll wake up and it'll be over. You'll be back home." And so for me, that's always been that solace moment. That it resonates in my mind to know that it's like falling asleep and then just waking up in another place, and then waking up in another moment in time. And because as a little kid, sometimes you're worried about what happens when you die, what happens when people die. Because when my grandfather died when I was only 11 years old, and never really got to meet him. And when he passed away, he was coming to visit. That's when I asked my mom that question. She'd tuck me in and wrap me up like a little burrito. She'd wrap me in. How like moms used to tuck you in and put the covers. I used to love when she did that to me.
Yeah.
She just tucked me in, and I'm just couldn't move, and because it was just something that she did when I was a little baby. But it was just, she was such a kind heart. She wasn't the soccer mom, like I tell people. She wasn't the mom, the PTA mom. She's not that mom. She was the mom that taught me shamanism. She's the mom that taught me how to cook. She's the one that taught me how to sew. She's the one that taught me how to wash my clothes. She taught me how to be gentle, with myself and gentle with others, because I was an angry kid. I was a short little guy who constantly battling taller people because they thought it was okay to pick on someone shorter. She always encouraged me to do better. She she was a quiet storm. I guess that's the good way to describe my mother. She didn't have to say a whole lot to command authority, but when she got pissed off, man, she'd crack you with that whip, just figuratively speaking. But you don't mess with Mama Rosa. Papa Gino, you knew what you're getting, period. So you might as well just, hey, might as well pick out the branch yourself and go get it. But my mom wasn't like that. My mom was like a little tornado. Like she's a Pisces. She's a little Pisces. And then, when the fish have had enough and they don't want to drown in everybody else's emotion. Look at it. And Mark comes on the air as soon as I say when the fish have had enough. Hey, Mark. That's kind of funny. Serendipitous moment there. Mark shows up when I start talking about Pisces. But anyhow. Yeah, it is funny. But yeah.
I'm glad you had such an amazing experience at the circle, and I'm honored if I was the first one to actually facilitate healing that way for you.
Yeah, you were. With my big drum, yes, absolutely.
I felt, I understand now what you mean when you say, I felt your energy while I was running the drum,
mm-hmm.
because I felt yours too. And it didn't hit me until after we were finished, when I, slowed down and then stopped, and then you got up and people started hugging you. And when I went to hug you, that's when I felt the tears.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew, you didn't tell me anything, but I knew that was all about your mom, and I knew you saw your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I had tears in my eyes because I knew that somehow. I did, though. I didn't get to tell you that either.
Well, that for me...
Yeah.
That for me, those are enlightened moments for me. When I talk about the enlightened moments, the awakened moments...
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, I want to say hi to Chris because he was part of our healing circle. He did an awesome job holding space for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, absolutely.
That's what I talk about when people ask me about enlightenment awakening. That's what it is for me. It's in moments, and it's in special occasions, and maybe not in special occasions. Maybe it's just in that moment. That's what enlightenment means to me, to be awakened in that particular moment. But, we worked on a lot of people. We did a group session, and we also did a session where it was individuals, like we were just talking about. And the energies that people bring in, the messages that they send to you when they're laying there, and what they need and what needs to happen is amazing. I had one gentleman that his energy was so boxed in and so hard, and I could feel it, and the drum got hard. I was playing the drum, and I couldn't even get the subtle beats in there, and it was just, his energy was just like difficult. And then he responded after, like he felt like things were being chopped away, like things were being moved from him, and things were being moved. So he was really grateful. He was really grateful. But he was probably the hardest guy for me to move energy on and to, send those vibrations through. Everybody else was pretty supple, pretty open to the process, and pretty, just ready to receive whatever they needed to receive. And that's, they were waiting for their moment of enlightenment to, let go and release of whatever they were holding on to.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool experience, if you ask me. If you've never done it before, you need to come on our gatherings.
Yeah, so that was just a part of the gathering.
Mm-hmm.
There are many different aspects, I think, but typically, you're right. If your name is attached to it, more than likely there's a bundle open somewhere, and we actually are always in ceremony. It's never just a drum circle.
Mm-hmm.
So for those people who've never been to any of our gatherings, that's always something to keep in mind. And, it's funny, there was a post on our page, and it was brought up about somebody had a reaction or allergy or something to sage, and it actually was becoming quite a fiasco on the page, and it was very disruptive and negative. And it happened to be on one of my specific posts. And, I allow someone to express their opinion, but I also explained that at these events, we've always done that. It's to be expected. A lot of people burn sage as, a belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular person kind of made it sound like, well, this wasn't any type of a ceremony, and and it wasn't a native ceremony, and there was African drums, and I'm sitting there thinking, excuse me. My thought process went to A, not every drum there was just that. B, there are so many cultures, not just this or that. There are so many beliefs and cultures that burn sage.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just one culture that does this,
Mm-hmm.
or one belief system. And so, I basically was kind in my response, but then when you don't stop, when you keep going, I have to say, I just went delete. I don't have that patience or that tolerance for, I'm kind to a point that you're not going to use me as your stepping stone for anything.
Right.
So I just, I'm like, you can do what you want on your own thing, but mine's not going to turn into a negative thing, because every other response on there was positive, and everyone enjoyed their self. So
Yeah.
sometimes you always seem like you have to deal with things like that.
Like they say, you can't please all the people all the time. So, that's just how it is. I feel, I'm not even going to apologize. There's really nothing to apologize. We're adults.
Right.
We're adults. And usually being adult means that you can figure things out, work things out. If you can't, then maybe you have to move on and go or do something else. I don't think it should have been an issue. It shouldn't have to be a problem. Some people just like problems, and the sage did its job. It moved the energy out that needed to go. That's the way I looked at it. That's the way I believe. That's where I resonate. So
That's the way I believe too.
there's not much I have to address to that. But we had a great time. It was a beautiful time. Besides, I don't even think that was even a bad thing. It was just something that it was. That's just life. Either you deal with it or you don't. You just move on. You want to make a big shit about it, fine. Do it. But I didn't even respond to it because I didn't think it was important. I thought it was like, you know what? I told you that was going to be that way. You decided to stay. And if you thought you were going to come to the circle that you're invited to and change the rules and change the parameters and the dynamics of it, that's not going to happen, because it's everybody's circle. It's not mine. So if you're new to the circle and you've never been to our circle, then you might have to find a better way to communicate to the people who religiously come and support that circle, and say something, and come to, this is, when you have your events, you do it your way. I don't go to your events and tell you how to run your events. That's the first thing that I never interfere in somebody else's, and I always ask for permission to pass out flyers or whatever, anything, cards or whatever, because I find it's very disrespectful to come into somebody else's event in somebody else's space and say, and not even ask. It's just, I know if I was to do that, I would get some repercussions from it. I would get, parented about it. I'd be judged about it. But regardless, this is how we learn. This is how we become awake, and this is how we become enlightened. Because those things wake us up. Those things are the things that, say, hey, wow, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be in that kind of energy. So that's an awakening. That's something that says, boom, Iggy, did you just learn that? What did you see in that, Iggy? What did you learn from that? Well, not to be like that. Iggy's not like that anyhow, but I'm not going to do that. That's a reminder from Spirit to honor sacred spaces, to honor other people's space. And when other people's space was violated, mine wasn't violated, but other people's spaces were violated, and it wasn't approached appropriately, some people had a reaction. Some people reacted, some people responded, and it may not have been the way you wanted it. But you know what? That shouldn't be a lesson for you. Next time, before you think that you're just going to say whatever you want to somebody. You better think about how you open up your mouth and what you're going to say to somebody else. I'm gentle usually. I'm pretty cool. But not everybody's like that. And even if we're in a sacred space like that,
Right.
you can't just go in there and bombard somebody and expect them to have a positive response because you want them to do something. No. We're still human beings. We still have feelings. We still have emotions. You have to honor that also, the human side of us, as much as you want to honor the spiritual side of us, the side that's not seen, the higher self version. So it played out how it was supposed to. In my opinion, that whole scenario played out how it was supposed to play out. The players became present. They appeared, and lessons were learned. Things were taught. Things were taken with it. Some people had to experience that. Some people had to feel that. Some people had to feel, disconnected. Some people had to feel connected. Some people had to feel, that their space was violated. That's good. That's how we learn. That's how, when you put your hand in the fire, two things will happen. You're going to get burned, maybe, depending how long you leave it in there, or you're not going to get burned. But if you leave it in there long enough and you keep putting it in, you're going to have problems. And that's how humans are.
Yeah.
We don't know, and that's why humanity has to work on individual enlightenment, individual awakening, because we're all at that place in our own special moment in time. We don't always necessarily all arrive there at the same time, and we all don't always have it at the same moment. So there are some people who posted that it's part of the illusion. Yeah, there's part of illusion, because you know what? Enlightenment may not even be a real thing. It may just be something that somebody started a long time ago, and then we just keep carrying on that message that we have to be enlightened. It's like the karma. People throw around the word karma. There's tons of versions of karma. There's good karma. There's bad karma. There's indecisive karma. There's karma's a word, which is called cause and effect. You cause, you affect, you cause. Something will happen when you butt up to it. When you butt up to it.
I have a question for you.
Sure. Boy, here we go.
Do you believe? Do you believe in? And we've heard this term loosely thrown around. Do you believe in enlightened masters? To become an enlightened master, you need to do blah, 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 blah. Do you believe in that?
What is an enlightened master?
We've heard that thrown around too.
What is an enlightened master? That's a trick question, Adriana. That's a trick question. Because it has a lot of answers. It has a lot of answers.
Yeah.
Ascended masters or enlightened masters.
Out there.
No. Here's, this is a good question. Because it's still open to interpretation, to what you think and where you put your belief systems and how you apply them to what you think is truth. If someone thinks that someone's an enlightened master, or they believe that someone's attained enlightenment, that's your belief. And you can't tell somebody else that is the truth, because that's not the way for them. Are there enlightened masters? Possibly. I'm sure there's somebody out there who is enlightened.
Who decides the scale?
Well, individually, people do.
A student to an enlightened student to an enlightened master.
People would say that Jesus Christ was an enlightened being, correct? An enlightened, an ascended master, whatever. But if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, then he ain't no ascended master to you. He's just a guy who just knows stuff. But if you believe in Buddha and you don't believe in Buddha, then he's nothing to you. He's just a guy with a bunch of quotes and a guy who's come around and just did some crazy, amazing things. But how many people on our planet, how many people on this earth do that just naturally and every day? When we put people on pedestals, when we put people on pedestals, then we put ourselves on that pedestal too. And then when we can't obtain, or we can't even be remotely close to that feeling, some of us fall off, and then some of us don't know how to get back up on the pedestal because it's hard. Even when you put another being on an enlightened list, and then you want to follow that path, and then when you get up there, when we put things up top, they're going to fall. And if our goal is to get up top and to be like that, what if we just took part of it? What if we just had a little bit of it versus all of it, and just be able to be human too? So there are people who can teach people, and there are people who can follow, and there are people who can, write, and there are people who can sing. Enlightened Masters is a very, very, it's a trick question for me, because I don't believe everybody is an enlightened being. I don't believe that people have this magic, because I think everybody has magic,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be something that, is partly true or not true. It's how we perceive it, how we look at it. It's what you believe and what I believe are two different things. But do I believe in enlightened masters? I believe in enlightened moments, and I believe people obtain enlightened moments, and they have more enlightened moments than the average person. There are people who can do things. Even, not to get too religious here, Jesus Christ even said that we would do even greater things than he did. What does that mean? That means that we have the capability to be enlightened in moments. We have the capability to be just as enlightened, or even beyond the enlightenment that we want to create. And it's all what we create, in the crevices of our minds and the filing cabinets of our mind, and what we put in there and how we navigate through that. So many of us have issues of unworthiness that we can never feel that we're like that person up there, the person that we put on the pedestal. So are there enlightened masters? For some people, there are enlightened masters. There are people who obtain a certain level. I don't believe that there are necessarily these levels. I believe that we just, how do we open them? Maybe. But it's all about belief. It's really deep down in your core and what you believe in your heart and what you resonate with and what centers you. Half the people who are leaving comments on here, it's what centers them. It doesn't matter if I know 7 rays. It doesn't matter if I don't know all the colors of the rainbow, because there's more than the rainbow, more colors in the rainbow that we can't see. RGBF, whatever. All the colors: red, blue, green. They just recently, and just in the last couple centuries, found new colors. There was a time where you couldn't even see blue. People didn't even know what blue was. If you do your research, because I've read about it and I've studied it, there was a time where humans didn't even know what blue was. The color blue didn't exist. It didn't exist in the sense of like, this is blue. We're going to call this blue. They just knew it was a certain color, and that was it. There's a time where we name things, we associate things. That's why everything's called things, so we can have an association, so our mind can put us in that train of thought, so it can take us right there. Boom. Car. Oh yeah, car drives, wheels, moves. Boom, enlightenment. Oh yeah, some guy who does this and does that. Enlightenment means I have to be like this, and I have to do this, and I have to be good, because when I'm not good, then I can't teach other people to be how I am. And it even, Adriana, even goes even further than this. Do you believe, if you believe in God? Some people don't believe in God. How almost everybody on this live feed knows one person, at least one person, who doesn't believe in anything except that they're going to die and rot in the ground. Check out that belief. You own that belief. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what about you? Now you asked me the same question. What do you think about enlightenment? Do you have enlightened ascended masters?
I believe that there are enlightened masters. I don't believe that there are enlightened masters. No, personally, that doesn't. I don't know. It almost puts me as anybody believes underneath, like there's someone underneath there. And my mind goes that, you're kind of in this state of bondage until you pass through all these phases and rise all the way up here, and to be able to just be this way 100% of the time. That's kind of what that feels like to me, and that doesn't resonate with me. So, no. I don't believe that there are enlightened masters. Unlike you, I believe some people can be more in tuned and enlightened. And as far as if you wanted to talk about let's talk about Jesus for a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Was he an enlightened master? He was, they called him the King of Kings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my core spiritual belief. That's how I was raised, and that's what I've believed. Now, do I think he was an enlightened master? I think he had his connection with God, but, he was tempted just like a human being. If you believe the Bible, he was tempted by the devil, just like he felt everything like a human being would feel. So if he's went through a process, and in the end, what happened?
Well, he was persecuted. He got crucified for.
Right?
Yeah.
Persecuted and crucified. That's what happened in the end. But I think he had moments where he was a simple man. He wasn't always enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, that's what he had moments in his life where he just walked this earth just like a man. He was a carpenter.
Right.
That's what you're taught.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you believe in. But he didn't stay in this state of heightened. When he was young, it said that he preached in the tabernacles when he was 12. Now that would be, to me, a 12-year-old that could captivate an audience and preach like that. That would be something amazing to see. I would have to think, there is something special about him.
Sure.
But, he's tuned into something that not everybody else here has.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably think that. But to call the master, and I don't know. I guess I have an issue with the titles or the labels.
It could be. You know what? I think it's just out of respect too. I think people call people master or sensei or ascended master. I think what it means is just they've had a lot of moments of ascending where they've actually gained a lot of stuff along the way, and they're able to come back and share that with you. But even though they share that with you, you still have to have your ascension in that process. It's like the story of the monk who rang the bell. He was supposed to ring the bell 7 times, and then because there was for some reason, but he rang it 8 times versus 7, and then he went down to to his master. He goes, "I rang the bell 8 times. I didn't mean to," and the guy says, "So." That's an experience that only that monk had. The other monk was like, "And what are you gonna do? You rang it 8 times. Now you've had that moment of experience. Now you take that experience, okay? And next time you'll ring it 7 times. Maybe you'll ring it 6 next time by accident." So the point is, it's we get it right, we get it wrong, we get it right, we get it wrong. We're doing the best we can with the tools we have, with the moment we have. Even Buddha left his family. He totally just dropped everything that he could possibly humanly own. Even left his family, left his wife, left his kid, because he wanted to self-discover who he was, who he wanted to be. He wanted to, and he knew there was a sacrifice with that. He knew that, but it wasn't a sacrifice to him. He knew that he would be okay. He knew that he would be taken care of. Not too many people would do that. Not too many people would go and say, "I'm going to just go off and be in the wilderness," and that's a big thing to do. And he's one of,
that's a big leap of faith.
Yeah, that he would be okay. And Buddha for me, it was one of those ascended masters per se. Somebody who just had more experiences than me. Somebody who saw more than I was able to. You think about it. I will even if I tried to walk in the footsteps of Buddha, I could never have the experiences of Buddha, because those experiences belongs to Buddha. Those experiences belong to the man himself, to go to where he wanted to be. I would have to travel, even if I traveled the same exact roads and paths, I would still have my own personal enlightenment, personal journey as I travel that road. Because there's perfection in the imperfection. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's already perfect. Even, and and then I would obtain whatever I needed for the healing that I needed to heal. Because I'm obviously healing myself. I'm healing the pieces and parts of me. And that's all Buddha was doing. He was healing the pieces and parts of himself. And then he became one with the universe within himself. And everything around him.
Well, there's a lot of times, you said that he went off by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And, Jesus did that too.
Mm-hmm.
He went up on the mountain 40 days, in the wilderness. Look at his disciples, his followers. And it almost is like, and he was always, he'd go into the garden and pray alone.
Right.
But a lot of this happens when they're alone.
Mm.
And I actually do tend to believe that there is something to that associated with your enlightenment. It is more, I think, when you are, whether you're alone, you're meditating, or you just spend time, live alone, because I personally have had more awakening since I've lived alone.
Okay.
I don't have the outside influences interfering. Don't have the husband or, kids or anything else around the outside influences coming in and disrupting my day-to-day routine or my thoughts. So I've definitely had more experiences since I've been alone. And whether it's because I'm alone or because there's more quiet time and no interference in my receptors, I guess.
I can see that.
Maybe that's why.
I follow you.
But it's interesting because most of the people that had followers, the leaders, I guess, that had followers or followings, they did at some point or another take off just to be by themselves, walk off all on their own, leave anything and everyone behind, and just, on foot and go. If you would have all of these experiences, but you also wouldn't have anyone else around you that depended on you or you depended upon them.
Right.
So you're left to your own devices, your own mind, your own problem solving in your mind when problems would arise on your travels, and you know that they did.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this is true. Even Buddha, and I know you're talking about, Christ, and I'm talking about Buddha, which is kind of funny. We kind of resonate with whatever we resonate with. But Buddha also had followers too. Buddha had, followers that, followed him.
I'm talking about both of them.
Yeah.
Anybody that had following.
He had his disciples, men and women, and his message was about finding yourself in the process. And you know what? He also made kings bow to him without really wanting them to bow to him. He did similar stories. There were some things that he wanted to share with the world, and it was more about all my relations. He wanted the world to know that we're all connected, that we're all somehow intertwined in these magical dances, that we're not just individuals who are just born into this world and then we just die. No, there's intricacies between us all. There's 3 levels of separation between every human being now? There used to be 6. There used to be 10 to 6. What was it? 6 levels of separation from Kevin Bacon. Is that what they used to say? Now I think it's 3 levels. That's how connected we are. You talk to anybody, somebody knows somebody famous. You know, we're separated by 3 or 2 or 1 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it really interesting because that was our topic today, you know, to be enlightened. And, you know, for those of you who want an interesting read, a book that you would like to read, there's a book that I'm kind of looking at from time to time, kind of got me inspired. It's called Instant Enlightenment. Okay, for those who's reading it, it's probably backwards on your feed, but this is a good book, fast, deep, and sexy. Let me just read one. Okay, I got one right here. This is how to get enlightenment. Nipples. Squeeze your own nipples until they're almost hurt, but are still tingling with pleasure. You can actually do this, or simply imagine it. Or have your trusted lover pinch your nipples so hard that they are on the verge of hurting, but you are still mostly feeling pleasure. Repeat this until you can simply remember the feeling of almost painful pleasure in your nipples, whatever you want. This is it's funny, somebody's version of how to get into enlightened moments and how to get into a certain place. And I find that pretty, there's a comical side to it. Enlightenment doesn't have to be so serious. You know? You are in a grassy park. You are a bug. What is crawled beneath a pile of dog poo? You are nestled between the park lawn and the warm mound of fences. You know, it's just, you'll love this book. It's really funny. And yeah, you're right, Connie. And I've been reading your post, Connie. I saw that. You think you have darkness to have the light, vice versa. Without, you might. This is true. I agree with you. You know, this is part of the journey of being a human being, to be in the shadows and the darks and move back and forth and, you know, move. That's why we have the yin and yang side. Mm-hmm. That's why Iggy Garcia has the panda. That's why I use the panda, because it's black and white. You know, it's we have good days and bad days, and sometimes we become the gray, and we sit in the middle and watch everything fall apart on one side, and we watch everything grow on the other side. And we're like, I don't want nothing to do with either one. I'm just there right here in the middle and watch and and build my discernment from that.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a really quick break.
Definitely.
Let's take a quick break here, Adriana, and we'll come back and start to wrap this thing up. And, you know, like Connie says, we are in a tiny little ants in a large universe. I believe that. That is actually, I've said that before, and I believe that. I truly believe that we are just a minuscule little existence in a big existence. So we'll be right back.
You are listening to WithinSightsRadio.com, your free online resource for achieving self-discovery and inspiration. With Insights Radio is a listener-supported radio station, and your donations are greatly appreciated. We cover a variety of topics, interviews surrounding the metaphysical and holistic and natural medicine, alternative healing modalities, and much more. Thank you for tuning in to WithinSightsRadio.com. You are listening to WithinSightsRadio.com with your host.
All right, guys, we're just about to come back here and work on this part of the show. I hope you're enjoying the show. We're just kind of chilling a little bit. We're talking about enlightenment, awakening, and the things that come along with that, what you get with that. And we're back.
Give us a thumbs up if you are.
Yeah, we're getting thumbs ups, we're getting hearts, we're getting smiley faces. No angry faces today, which is good. If anybody wants to comment, anybody wants to share, you can call the show at 646-595-3440, or you can actually, I can bring you online here on the live feed here on Facebook. But just type if you have a question.
Yeah, come online.
Yeah, and just give us a call, because you know we're having our enlightened moment right now. We're enjoying the show and sharing with you. We're sharing our versions of what we think enlightenment is. So, did we share anything? I don't know. Have we ascended? Maybe.
I don't know.
You've ascended. We both ascended.
Enlightenment, maybe.
I think we ascended. We ascended today a little bit, didn't we? I know. My nipples are harder.
Only high enough to be spotted back down.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I'm okay with that. And for those of you who would like to donate to With Insights Radio, we do have a website. It's withinsightsradio.com. There is a donate button there. We ask, because this is a listener-supported program, So we do shows like this. Everybody comes on here. You know, it's a lot of fun. We have really good. We got Peter Fairchild. He's going to be on Fairfield. I'm sorry. He'll be on the end of the month. He's a pretty well-known doctor, and he'll be sharing his insights with us. Next will be a show. We'll actually be talking, who created God. So that's going to be an interesting, show. That's going to be really kind of moving. And then that particular Wednesday, I think I'm going to have Tony De La Cruz on. He'll be on a show. For those of you who don't know Tony De La Cruz, he's my spiritual brother, and he has his own studio called Innate Massage Therapy. And I'm going to be doing a talk there tomorrow, and that talk will be at 6:30 to 9, and it'll be at his studio. Let me get the address for you. Those of you who are interested, it's actually a class. It will be at 870 High Street, Suite 19, Worthington, Ohio 43058. That is a zip. Innate Massage Therapy. It'll be introduction to urban shamanism. The class is filling up, so if you want a little interest in it, send me a little message on Messenger so I can send you the link so you can sign up. And then we have our Shaman Walk coming up this Saturday. It starts at 10 o'clock. It's going to be at Cedar Falls in Logan, Ohio, and Hocking Hills. This is also an interactive class for shamanism where you're actually walking through meditation. We're going to go through the bundle ceremonies. We're going to be actually teaching certain aspects of shamanism and what you see in the world around you, out in the woods. And we're going to have a water ceremony, a water baptism, a blessing. Then we'll actually walk into the vortex part of the Cedar Falls where the two points meet, which is really amazing stuff. So it's pretty cool, pretty exciting. We've got some exciting things coming up this week.
That's right. You're definitely booking up fast.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who need shamanic services or who need drum circles or anything, your corporate events and stuff, get a hold of me because my calendar is really filling up, and that's good. It's good to be busy. It's good to be, wanted to share, the knowledges that I have, because I have ascended. I am an ascended master. I had to say that. I'm a ascended drum master. Anyhow, whatever. Alt delete. But we're winding down here, so any closing thoughts? Anything you want to share with our listeners, Adriana?
It's been a great show. Thanks for having me on. It's been a while for me, so it felt good to be back on air with you.
Mm-hmm.
And this weekend was amazing. And when you're out there in the world, just open your eyes and look around and listen and feel with all of your senses, including your sixth sense, which everybody has. It'll open up your mind and your heart both to things going on around you. So feel the love.
All right. I have 10 cents in my pockets. That's a joke, but you didn't get it. You're supposed to laugh. 10 cents. She has 6 cents. I have 10 cents. We have 16 cents now.
Right.
We have 16 cents now. But we hope you like.
Between us, that's good.
We hope that you. We hope that you enjoy our show. Feedback's important, so drop me a line at my Facebook page at Iggy Garcia here on Facebook in Messenger, or you can send me an email at iggygarcia@gmail.com and just let us know. Let us know what you like who you like maybe us to interview, who do you want to come on the show. Maybe you want to come on the show. Maybe you want to come over here and share your insights with us and share your inspirational and inspiring moments with us. Because everybody has them. Everybody has their moments, and everybody has, the opportunity to be grand teachers and grand students. And I'm grateful to be the grand teacher and the grand student all at the same time. Because that's what life's about. It's about sharing, it's about learning and being in situations and being in moments and knowing how to navigate through them and what we take from them. Sometimes we take a whole bunch of stuff with us, and sometimes we don't take anything. But regardless, It's always a pleasure to be on the air with you, Adriana, and to share, the things that roll around in your head, and to see, life a little differently, to see life from a different perspective, from a feminine point of view, without being, without being rude, I didn't want to come across funny, because I'm a man, so I come across with a masculine sense of energy. And so for me, it's good to have someone else to banter an idea, to see something different, to see something in a different light. Because sometimes I can be hard and coarse, and, that's just the way I am. But I want to give thanks to all our listeners who took time to listen, and you can go back and listen to the show afterwards, or, record it. But information about me, IggyGarcia.com, that's the best place to find me, and the services that I offer, and the reading. So next week we'll be starting a promotion for those of you who are interested in getting a read. The 25th caller will actually get a free reading from me. That starts next week. We're going to be doing that on a monthly promotion where you can come in and I'll give you a read. I'll give you a read. It sounds like fun. Yes, it does. Sue, thanks for being on the show. Sue Fields, we really appreciate you. And Ricky, thanks for being on the show, and everybody who's been tuning in. Connie, thanks for popping in. We've had a good crowd of people with us today, Adriana. So it's been fun.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, that's about it. What's that? What were you going to say?
Definite thanks to all the listeners out there.
Absolutely.
Without you, we wouldn't do a show. So
that's right.
Thank you much.
All right.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. So I hope that we were able to get you to think outside the box a little bit and kind of get a different perspective and a different, feel about things, and that, we're all pretty much kind of the same to some degree, but we see the world much different. We experience things very differently, but yet we all want to get to the same place where we're at peace, we're in harmony, we're in balance, we're in joy, and all those magical things that come along with that. By us being that way, by us being into that space, other people see your example, and then they move into that space. They see the possibility that they can be that way. So I want to thank you. Thank you for being on. I'll see you guys next week. Be well. Ho'oponopono, much love. Peace and love. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.